Over the last couple of days, I have watched every single Nightmare on Elm Street movie that there is. Actually, that's a lie. I have one more to go. I still have the 6th one to watch, and I still have Jason vs. Freddy, which I don't know if I'm even going to watch. And then I'm going to binge watch all of the Halloween movies, and I'm watching Scream with my viewers. If you guys are interested, I've been having movie days every once in a while with my viewers on Discord. I'll have my Discord link down below. I don't know why I've never thought to link my Discord before. I never put it in my social media links. But we've been watching the Scream movies. We have Scream 4, and then we're done. But I've been watching all the Scream movies with my viewers on Discord, and I think I might do the same thing with Halloween if you guys are interested in that. So I'll have my Discord link down below. I'm just trying to get through all the movies because I haven't watched them in a very long time. I don't even know why I'm rambling about this. Hey y'all, I don't know why I'm rambling about this. I need to shut up and get into the video because this is not about scary movies. But hey y'all, I am back and I have more Ouija board stories that I'm very excited to read today. I'm very nervous to read, but I'm also very excited because the chapter that we're on is called The Devil Himself. Also, I wanted to say really quickly, I know I don't look my best today. I know I don't need to say this, and I know people are always like, you look fine, like you look normal, you look the same. But I just feel like I don't look like my best today, and so I'm gonna mention it because I don't want people commenting being like, she looks kind of ugly in this video. Because I know, I kind of get it, I kind of see it. But we're going to get into these stories. This first one is called Whoa. Sam and Sherry were husband and wife, and they decided to try out the Ouija board for the first time together. They had never been interested in spiritualism before, but after they moved into their current home, Sherry began having strange experiences that she couldn't explain. She became sure that the place was haunted. They invited their friend Dana over. She had a Ouija board and knew how to use it. Still, Sam was sure nothing would happen. They decided to set up the Ouija board next to a window where Sherry had heard some strange and unexplainable sounds. The three sat there for a minute, but nothing happened, so Dana asked, "Is anyone there?" Immediately the planchette moved to yes. Everyone looked around at each other in anticipation. "Who is it?" asked Sam. The planchette moved with ease. "Satan." That was a pretty clear message, and everyone started to look worried. Still, they felt it was important to continue for Sherry. "What do you want?" asked Sam. "Die." No one really knew what to say next. Finally, Dana asked bravely, "Are you good or bad?" The planchette spelled evil. Dana wanted to stop, but Sherry insisted that they had to get answers. "What is your name?" she asked. The planchette spelled woe, W-O-E, and then immediately slid to goodbye. "Wait," said Sam. "We want to ask you more questions. What do you want from my wife?" There was a pause while everyone sat expectantly with their fingers on the planchette. Finally it moved. Soul. "Okay, that's enough," said Sherry quickly. They moved the planchette to goodbye and flipped the board over. Everyone looked shaken. "I don't think we should do that again," said Sam. "There are some things I don't want to know about." That's terrifying. That was terrifying. If the Ouija board told me it wanted my soul, oh my god, I would move instantly. I would never come back to that place ever again. But this next story says, the face on the ceiling. 9-year-old Sam and his sisters were a group of kids who liked to mess around with Ouija boards. One night they did just that, but it ended up being pretty boring, with no responses to any of their questions whatsoever. After about an hour of nothing scary happening, Sam and his sisters gave up and decided to call it a night. Sam went to bed like usual and fell asleep quickly, but in the dead of the night he suddenly woke up to a freezing room. Shivering, he glanced over at his bedside clock and saw that it was midnight. Curling up tightly in his blankets, he rolled over onto his back to stare at the ceiling. Looking at a blank surface was his favorite way to fall back asleep, but a blank surface is not what Sam saw. Sam was horrified to find a face staring down at him from the ceiling, hovering above. He never had much of an imagination, but upon looking at it, he knew it must be the devil himself. The face looked exactly like the color of dried blood. It looked so much like a skull. Its red skin stretched so tightly over it that Sam was sure it could rip at any time. The creature had no legs, but Sam could see a muscular torso behind the frightening face. Its eyes were not eyes, but burning lights that penetrated down at him. 2 horns snaked out of the front of its forehead. Petrified with fear, Sam lay quietly while the devil smiled down at him in a malicious, even ghoulish way. He could see and hear the overtight skin straining with the grin. Sam couldn't think of what to do, but he knew he couldn't stare at the creature any longer. He closed his eyes and began praying that the thing would disappear. He heard no sounds, but didn't dare open his eyes. After what seemed like ages, he fell completely asleep. The following morning, Sam was relieved to find his bedroom devoid of devil-like creatures. Everything looked in order, but when he glanced over at his bedside clock, he saw that it still read 12 a.m. The digital clock wasn't flashing like it would if there had been a power outage. It had simply froze. Curious, Sam pulled out his favorite watch out of his desk drawer to check the time. The watch also read 12 o'clock, down to the second. Sam didn't tell anyone about his encounter with the devil for 10 years. To this day, the memory remains as vivid as if it had been the night before. Sam doesn't mess around with Ouija boards anymore. Yeah, I wouldn't either. This next story says, 20 weeks along. Dylan and Jake went to their friend Mark's family cabin one fall weekend. The 3 teenagers were looking forward to having the place to themselves, but didn't have too many great ideas about what they should do. Finally, someone suggested they should try out a Ouija board. Everyone enthusiastically agreed. The 3 boys were able to contact a spirit, but this one wasn't very friendly. All it wanted to communicate was that Jake was evil and spell out die over and over again. The boys weren't amused and moved the planchette to goodbye, but then the spirit jerked the planchette away and spelled no die. The boys kept trying to say goodbye to the spirit because they thought it was important to end the session, but every time they tried, the spirit jerked the planchette away again, telling them to die. They kept at it for half an hour. Then Dylan had an idea. "Spirit, show yourself," he said to the board. Immediately, the planchette moved to goodbye. Just then, the front door of the cabin began to shake like crazy, then suddenly stopped. The boys went to dinner not thinking too much of it. Maybe it was curiosity, but later that night, everyone wanted to try the board again. When they sat at the board, they knew immediately that they had found the same spirit. No and die were the only words it was interested in spelling. Mark thought it would be a good idea to try and ask questions about the future. "Will I have children?" he asked. The planchette slid to yes. "What about me?" said Jake. The planchette moved again, spelling now. No one really understood what that meant, so they just kept asking questions. Mark and Dylan could tell that Jake was a little upset though, so they decided to stop shortly after. The 3 boys moved the planchette to goodbye. The planchette jerked away. No, die, it spelled. Then the planchette started flying around the board out of control. It flew off the board and onto the floor, where it lay still. Dylan was the most superstitious of the group and insisted they couldn't let the session end without saying goodbye, because it might release the spirit to walk the earth. They had no choice but to continue talking to it. Still, everything they asked received only one response: die. "Who are you?" Mark finally asked. The planchette moved to spell Lucifer. That was too much for Jake. He got scared and ran from the cabin. The boys gave up on the board and went home the next day. On Monday, Dylan went to school and saw that Jake wasn't there. He started asking around if anyone had seen him, then heard a rumor that Jake is in the hospital. The first thing that Dylan thought was that something horrible must have happened to Jake, maybe by Lucifer himself. Panicking, Dylan started calling Jake over and over. After several tries, someone answered. "Hello, this is Jake's dad speaking." "Hey, it's Dylan. I heard at school that Jake is in the hospital. What happened? Is he okay?" There was a short pause at the other end before Jake's dad said, "Jake is fine. It's actually his girlfriend Tiffany who's in the hospital. She had a miscarriage." Dylan was shocked. "A miscarriage? I didn't even know she was pregnant." "Tiffany didn't tell anyone, so we didn't know either," said Jake's dad somberly. "She was about 20 weeks along. It was a baby girl." Suddenly, Dylan realized exactly what Lucifer was telling them through the Ouija board the other night. Jake really would have a child now, but in the worst possible way. I don't know what that means, in the worst possible way, but that is crazy. Oh God, and this next section that we're on, the next chapter, is motive for murder. These are gonna be, oh my God. I don't think I'm ready for this. The first story says, "The Ouija board made me do it." 3 boys between 14 and 15 years old met in a wooded area behind a high school in the small border town of Weslaco, Texas. I don't know if I said that right, but I think it's Weslaco. All of them were friends and everything seemed fine, until one of them pulled out a 4-inch blade and stabbed his best friend in the stomach. The stabber then turned to his other friend and asked him for his help carrying the bleeding boy to nearby garbage. Shocked, he complied. Once they arrived, the stabber said, "You gotta say that he fell on the knife so we can call an ambulance." The boy agreed, but admitted the whole truth to the police as soon as they arrived. An ambulance took the injured boy to the emergency room, and the stabber was arrested. When the police asked him why he stabbed his best friend, the boy simply said, "The Ouija board made me do it." The police decided to look into the boy's history and found no evidence of drug use or any mental health issues. They began to think that the 15-year-old attempted murderer really did believe the Ouija board was telling him that his best friend must die. Others, however, thought there was no way the boy would have done it unless he was somehow possessed. Either way, his murderous attempt failed. His former friend spent 3 days in intensive care, but lived to tell the tale. I am not ready for these stories. These are going to be so scary. These are going to be so spooky. Like, these freak me out when it's like I watched The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I know it's not about a Ouija board, but it's still, like, terrifying. And those are, like, based on true story. At least I like to think that they're actually based on true stories. I know that, like, the whole Ed and Lorraine stuff is kind of sketchy. It's Lorraine, right? I think it's Ed and Lorraine or something like that. But anyways, we're going to continue on. This next story says, Mother on a Mission. One day, Carol Sue Elvacher played with the Ouija board with her daughter, Tammy Roach, her son-in-law, Brian Roach, and her grandchildren. No one knows exactly what the Ouija board said to Carol, but soon after, she went completely crazy. Convinced that her son-in-law must die, the 53-year-old stabbed him in the chest. Then she decided her 10-year-old granddaughter was evil and tried to murder her as well. Shocked by her mother's change in behavior, Tammy managed to get the knife away from her and hid it in the house. It seemed like Carol had snapped out of it, and she offered to drive Tammy, Brian, and the family to the hospital so he could get treated for the stab wound. But soon enough, Carol began driving erratically and crashed the car into a road sign. She was intentionally trying to kill all of them, but she didn't succeed. Carol broke both of her ankles and the others suffered small injuries. The family got out of the car while Brian was still bleeding in the back. Carol couldn't walk, but she wasn't deterred. She tried to push her other granddaughter, 15, into traffic before running into the woods nearby. She was later found by police and arrested, but that's not the end of the tale. Her daughter Tammy was also taken in and charged with accessory to murder. She was the one who hid Carol's knife and owned the car that they drove off in. Her husband never made it to the hospital. Tammy left him to bleed out after the accident. It turned out that Tammy was affected by the family's experience with the Ouija board just as much as Carol. Either that or the women were in cahoots to commit the ultimate crime. Oh my god, you're joking. Like, you're actually joking. Okay, and this last one that we're gonna read, I'm gonna stop after this story, so this might be a shorter video because we're on to a new chapter, and I feel like it's better if I don't split up the chapters, like I read the whole chapter in one video, so this is gonna be the last story I'm gonna read. It says, A Tortured Confession. The story doesn't end with murder in the way courts define it, but someone still ends up dead. It was 1935, and an elderly woman had weekly consultations with her Ouija board about the doings of her 78-year-old husband, Herbert. The board was telling her that Herbert was having an affair with a woman in the neighborhood, and that it was giving her a lot of money. After each session with the Ouija board, the wife would stare darkly at her husband, telling him that she discovered the truth about more and more of his lies. According to Herbert, his wife would then use wires to tie him to the bedpost and whip him with knotted ropes. She used a small knife to stab him in the shins and a hot poker to burn him, waiting for a confession. This went on for weeks, until the wife got fed up and put a gun to his head. Exhausted and scared, Herbert confessed to every crime she accused him of. His crazed wife suddenly felt gratified and decided to untie him. Then she made a mistake by leaving the gun sitting on the nightstand. Herbert was traumatized and still terrified of his wife and what might happen after her next consultation with the Ouija board. So he took the gun and shot her in the back 4 times. When put on trial, the jury ruled it as a justifiable homicide since he was in fear for his life. The useful secrets his wife had learned from her sessions with the Ouija board did nothing more than result in her own death. And then the next section that we're on in the next video is going to be possible possessions, and then I believe we're almost done with this book. I might have like 1 or 2 more videos on this book, but then we're going to be done with it, which makes me really sad because I really enjoy reading from this book. But that is all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go watch the final Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and then I'm probably going to get started with Halloween. I still have to figure out if I'm going to watch that on Discord or not. I might, but I might not, because I kind of want to binge them all in like 1 or 2 days, and I don't know if I can do that on Discord. I don't know if people are going to be down for that, so we might watch a different series on Discord. Maybe we'll watch Friday the 13th on Discord. I think we might do that. So if you want to watch Friday the 13th with me and a bunch of people in the community, I will have my Discord down below. Just join it, and I will put in general chat when we're going to be watching the movies. I'll put all the information on Discord. My Discord's pretty dead, so if you come to my Discord and nobody's talking, don't be surprised. It's a pretty dead place unless we're watching a movie. That's when it gets more active because everyone's on and watching the movie. But if you're not watching the movie, it's a pretty dead Discord. I won't even lie. It's pretty dead. Rest in peace. But I'm gonna go. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye! I just don't know what's going on with my hair or my eyebrows today. My eyebrows look massive. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I did wrong today, but my eyebrows just look huge. I'm also not the same color as my body. Like, my face is not the same color as my body. It might not show on camera, but in person it's very apparent that my face does not match my body. But you know what? It's fine. We all have ugly days. We all have days where we feel ugly, and it's fine. It happens. At least I got a video done. Because, you know, normally if I was having an ugly day, I just wouldn't film. But I'm really in the mood to film right now, so I'm filming a video. But if I felt ugly on a normal day, I would not be filming, and I would be behind on my week. But guess what, bitches? I did it. So you know what? On that note, I'm gonna go. See ya!